Robert Gibbs.
Friendly crowd.
A question.
Okay.
Was this the greatest political speech ever given, or the second greatest political speech ever given last night? Go either way. I don't care.
I would say,
it's a free country.
Not surprisingly, she was very poised and delivered an excellent speech. I don't think some people seem to be surprised by it. I don't think many of us were. I think she did a very good job. I was struck not just by this speech, but through the speeches throughout the night were exceedingly negative, exceedingly divisive. It sounded a lot like the politics that we're used to in the last 8 years. We're coming up on day 4 of the convention.
Our last week at the Denver convention, when the first half of Barack Obama's speech, boom, right there with John McCain.
And the
tough talk, and that was good.
And the second half of that speech was a detailed laying out about what he wanted to do for this country. Here we are at day 4 of the Republican convention, and I think we've yet to hear an economic idea.
Drill, baby, drill.
Well, she brought it up. Listen,
that's a good chant, by the way.
She went after your candidate in a big way. She attacked his accomplishments or lack thereof. In fact, let's just play one more clip and let Robert respond. Here it is.
Victory in Iraq is finally in sight, and he wants to forfeit. Terrorist states are seeking nuclear weapons without delay. He wants to meet them without preconditions. Al-Qaeda terrorists still plot to inflict catastrophic harm on America, and he's worried that someone won't read them their rights.
Okay, Robert.
What did she mean by that last statement? Was that about the Supreme Court ruling that gives Guantanamo prisoners constitutional rights?
A good question to ask her, because as I recall, there's no difference between where John McCain and Barack Obama are on the Supreme Court decision.
Okay, what about the first one where she said...
Keep trying, right?
No. I mean, let's check these off, because those are some pretty tough charges. She also said that victory's in reach, and yet Barack Obama wants to pull us out and surrender.
Again, it's the same rhetoric you've heard. It's the same John McCain saying that somebody would rather lose a war and win a political election, which I got to say I think is one of the more despicable things we've heard in politics in quite some time. Nobody wants to lose a war. That's patently ridiculous.
What about the charge that Barack Obama's given all these speeches, and yet the only time you ever hear the word victory, this is her claim, was when he was talking about his own campaign, never about Iraq. Is victory possible in Iraq?
Absolutely. I don't think anybody doesn't want that. We also have to have victory in Afghanistan, which I'm sure if you asked Richard is the central front on the war on terror. Look, again, I think she gave and delivered a very good speech last night.
Okay.
But I think if you look at some of the facts, they talk.
Boy, he was just rude to you. He stiff-armed you.
Wow.
You know what? Hold on a second. Let me just say, you all need to learn how to treat women with more deference than this. The working women of America are now turning against you, Robert.
From a lot of people, but probably not a Republican.
Oh, okay, and now he's attacking him.
Here's a good one. I hadn't even thought of this. Last night she talked about Barack Obama as a man who's written already 2 books about himself and yet has accomplished so little in terms of comprehensive
no piece of legislation.
Boy, I tell you, that's where they really got the facts wrong, Joe and Mika. I mean, look, she talks about keeping weapons out of the hands of terrorists, worked across party lines with Dick Lugar to make sure weapons don't fall into the hands of terrorists, working with Republicans to open up transparency in the budget process, working with Republicans to make sure that we don't hand out no-bid contracts to cronies in the Bush administration, and quite frankly, working with people like John McCain to reduce the influence of lobbying in Washington, to reform ethics so that you're not writing a prescription bill one day, walking through the revolving door, and you're the biggest lobbyist for the pharmaceutical industry the next day. That's real reform that touches on people's lives.
Yeah, Mark Halperin, let's talk about the Republican Party. They came in, I agree with Lawrence, they were sleepwalking the first couple days. Was last night a good night for the party?
First of all, Gibbs is terrified. You can just tell.
Well, he is. I mean, they all should be. Yeah. This woman, where did she come from?
I think what's the thing that's happened. back to Savannah.
Small town America, and she's proud of it.
I think the big thing that's happened for them now is they've closed the enthusiasm gap.
Yeah.
If you talk to David Plouffe, Robert's colleague, the thing that they've said as their ace the whole campaign is Democrats are energized, they're revved up, as Republicans were by the end in 2004. I think there's at least a dozen ways in which Sarah Palin now has got the party energized, not just in St. Paul, but around the country.
I get so many emails last night from people, Republicans, that every time I went after the Republican Party over the past 5 years, it'd be attaboy, way to go, give them hell, Joe. Those people are all emailing me last night saying, thank God we got something right.
You got a woman to make an historic candidacy to match the Obama candidacy. You got a great speaker to match Obama. You got someone physically attractive. Don't minimize that excitement. You got the young kids. You've got a son in the military. You've got a baby with Downs. You've got also the combination of McCain with Sarah Palin. There's a lot of things for people who want to be enthused, not just a conservative base. Hunting, another hot button thing for people.
Life, hunting, life, so many of these social issues.
With emotion. And the thing that you need in politics always, as you all know, is emotion. Obama has had a monopoly on that up until now. Sarah Palin is injecting emotion. You even see it in John McCain himself.
Lawrence, though, when you write, we always hear that every screenplay has a beginning, a middle, and end. The problem here is, for the Republicans, it seems like the climax is about an hour and a half into the movie, and it's kind of like the last Lord of the Rings. You're like, my God, I love it, but when's it going to end?
Well, remember,
Frodo goes back to his village, and they sit around a bar.
Well, remember, in the movie.
So what happens tonight?
Well, in the movie, whenever anything goes as well as it went last night, there's a big crash coming for that character down the road. That they have to dig themselves out of that hole in order to get to the finish line. So we don't know. We're still listen. My position is the same as it was yesterday.
But John McCain can't top that tonight.
He cannot top it, and that may be a serious problem. He can't top that speech. But look, we need 2 weeks, minimum of 2 weeks, to get an assessment about what really happened here. Yes, it worked in the hall. Did it work outside the hall? I mean, you could have listened to that speech all night. If you're struggling with your mortgage, if you're a swing voter who's wondering about the economy, wondering about the manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, places like that, you could have listened to that speech all night and you don't hear a thing. You say, well, okay, hockey mom, I love that. Now, I think I know a lot of hockey moms who would not be a good vice president. Is there some,
well, that's what David
here?
Axelrod was saying last night on the phone. He was saying, we're in Ohio, and you know what? She's not, everything we've heard, not speaking
you know what,
to the
though? These
here.
elections, and Robert knows this, these elections don't always swing on who the most qualified is. It's who connects to people in Ohio. Why did Democrats? Why did Democrats lose West Virginia in 2004 and 2000? They shouldn't have voted for a Yaley, who was an oil guy. But they voted cultural issues, and my God, she's going to play well in West Virginia. She's going to play well in Pennsylvania, Ohio.
But I think what Lawrence is saying is, I think this is a little bit of a different election, right?
Yeah.
People in Ohio have lived through 8 years of the Bush economy. Go anywhere in Michigan, you won't have to go far to meet an auto worker who's either been downsized or had their pension.
And I agree with you, but why is Ohio deadlocked right now after your convention? My God, you guys should be up by 10.
Do you want me to teach your candidate how to go to Deere?
Why can't you get him ahead?
Can you do that?
I can. I have.
Why is it? Because these elections are close, Joe.
But you say it's been 8 years of a living and breathing hell because of the Republicans. Your guy should be up by 10.
Not the Republicans, just George Bush. I don't blame it on all the Republicans.
Right.
Look, you've seen that in your state of Florida 8 years ago, 537 votes had divided this thing. These things are obviously going to be close elections. But what I think Lawrence is saying is that people want to hear what your economic plan is. I don't doubt that elections are a lot about connections. I don't doubt that at all. That is absolutely true. But if you can make a connection but you don't have an answer for their problem and they can't make their mortgage payment, that's a serious deal for people. And look, we spent 3 days at this convention. Granted, one of them was canceled, but here we are at day 4 and we've heard absolutely nothing about that. We heard the same kind of divisive political attacks in each and every speech last night, the same kind of condescending sarcasm, which is great. But you know what? It's the same reason you left Washington, because that plays out every day on the House floor. And guess what? You go home at night and nothing got done.